Good afternoon, everyone. We'd like to welcome you to the Washington County Board of Commissioners meeting here today. We'd like to excuse Commissioner Almquist. He's out of town to another important event, and we'd like to excuse him and thank all of you for being here. As we start today's meeting, our first item is our invocation. We have Reverend Joyce DeTony Hill from the Shepherd of the Hills United Methodist Church to give us our invocation, and also a part of our Interfaith Council, and we'd like to thank you so much for being here. After our invocation, our County Attorney Eric Clark will lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Reverend.
Let us pray. Eternal Father, in the shared spaces of this governance, we gather seeking your divine wisdom. Guide these servants as they deliberate over the pulsating issues of our precious city. Empower their discernment, illuminate their judgments and plans with your insights. And may they steward this civic responsibility diligently and create a beacon city for everyone who lives here. So with hopeful hearts, we seek your grace for judgment, good judgment, knowing that in you lies wisdom beyond measure. In all that we do or decide here today, may you be reflected and glorified first and foremost. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, County Attorney Eric. As we begin our meetings today, our first item on our agenda is our consent agenda. The consent agenda is a means of expediting the consideration of routine matters. If a commissioner requests that items be removed from the consent agenda, those items are placed at the beginning of the regular agenda. Other than requests to remove items, a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda is not debatable.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda as follows. A, consideration of auditor-approved claims for payment for April 16th, 2025 through May 6th, 2025. B, consideration of commission meeting minutes of April 15th, 2025. C, consideration of administrative adjustments for real property. D, consideration of the administrative adjustments for personal property. E, consideration of applications for property tax abatements, of which there is one. F, consideration of proof of publication of ordinances number 2025-1287-0 and 2025-1288-0, published on April 20th, 2025. G, consideration of the VOCA grant conditions. And H, consideration of disposal of sheriff's assets. And that's my motion.
So I'll second that motion. We have a motion and a second on the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Our next item on our regular agenda is some celebrations. We have two anniversaries that we're celebrating today. One is Angela Warner from with 10 years from our county attorney's office, and we're going to have Eric Clark come up and say some nice things, after which we're going to celebrate Sue Haffelbauer for 20 years in our Public Works Department. And I think Todd is here, and he'll come up. So, Eric? You worked a long time for this moment.
Well, and it's not just the time, it's all the pain of the people that you have to work with regularly. So
That was you. That wasn't
That
us,
was just
right?
me.
That was you. I just, so the camera could see in the audience, you were pointing to yourself. Okay.
when I became county attorney, I did the first, 6 to 12 months without a legal assistant kind of assigned to just help me. And I was a disaster. Like it was just not great. And I went and recruited Angela to come in and be my personal assistant and help me navigate the things I was doing. And then a couple of years later, we added having her become the staff supervisor. And so Angela is just, because everything she gets given, she does so well. She now has our office manager. She I would like to really come and do this. The county's a better place because this is
Angela, thank you especially for running herd on Eric, you know, so that's great. Do you have anything you've thought about that you'd like to?
10 years, congratulations. Thank you very much for your service and to the public and to Eric and his staff.
Very good. Let's get a picture. Next, we have Sue Hasselbauer, who was, I don't want to say an institution, but the heart and soul of, well, Todd, you want to lead us off?
Yeah, just give you a little background with Sue. She began working in the county commission office originally, and she found the errors of her way and came down to Public Works, mostly to help out with the flooding of 2005. There was over $200 million worth of damage during that flooding. And Sue has been working with subsequent floods in 2008, 2010, 2015, all the way to 2023. Flood work done. She's worked with the NRCS and FEMA and Federal Highways to coordinate every project. There's been over 2 million tons of rock. She has it documented down to 0.01 ton of rock. Everything Excel. And that kind of gives you that. It's over. My math is right, that's over 4 billion pounds of rock, or 100,000 centimeters. She knows where everyone can work on this. There's $75 million in NRCS, erosion control protection, and 50 different projects. Replaced bridges and millions of dollars in FEMA and Federal Highways projects. And she has documented all of that. Make sure that the money that was spent where it needed to go, not a dollar was spent. She knows that for sure. She's a kind, friendly, courteous, intelligent representative of the county. I'm guessing she's answered way more than 20,000 phone calls over the years. Got more than 20,000 visitors to the office, and she's always professional. She's always kind of so they felt bad after they come. She's dedicated to making sure taxpayer funds are spent efficiently and documented. And she has endured death a couple of years. Help actually each of us in that process and their families, she's a superhero in our office. She'll be great in this. She's another 4 years, not last week. She will be great in this position. Grateful for her.
You know, I was thinking today as I saw this anniversary coming up that I don't think a lot of people appreciate what you just mentioned, Todd, about this relationship that the NRCS or the National
Natural
Resource Conservation Service does, where they have this relationship with Washington County where they trust Washington County to manage these important jobs. And a lot of people don't realize how valuable those resources are. And I'm not sure, I don't believe that any other county operates the way that we do. And we operate projects that aren't even county projects. They might be city projects or other projects. Any projects in Washington County the NRCS trusts us, and they trust Sue and her ability to manage those funds. So thank you. It's been a great resource for our county, something that very few people will realize. And if we get floods like we did in '06 and '05, I think we're in much better position as far as what's happened. All of that work along the river will definitely, has already paid off, and it'll pay off even more for generations to come. So thank you. Sue lives in New Harmony, so she's not as, the heat isn't as exciting as to the rest of us, right? Yeah. So, and Rick worked with her husband. Rick was our extension agent for years. And anyway, thank you for all your service that you've given to this county as well. So
Yeah, if I'll just piggyback on the NRCS part, especially managing those and getting that work done. Most people will never know, and they just assume that flooding just doesn't affect them, right? It just goes down the stream, or it goes into the detention ponds, or all these things, the culverts, they just magically appear. And so those of us that do know, we're very grateful for all the work you've done. And it's dangerous when you talk about retirement for you and for Angela as well. Not talking about retirement, Angela, I didn't say that. But, 10 and 20 years that's a lot of knowledge. I mean, it's literally impossible to download all of that to any successor. But people don't stay in jobs forever. They retire, they move, their family, concerns happen, and people move on, which is the way of all things in work. But man, how do you lose as much knowledge as you gained in 20 years and hope that the next person can try and pick up? They're big shoes to fill. So thanks for what you do.
thanks. Thank you. Our next item is our emergency service report from Sergeant Jacob Paul. It's Jacob here.
So this one's a little bit bigger than our previous one, but we'll just get some highlights because I think we did the game of last month. So this is the report from March 18th through May 6th, 2025. As we were thinking, call volume started to pick up a lot. We've been averaging about one every other day, and all of them have been calls a day. We've had 25 calls in that time period. 377 man-hours from our volunteers, 129 hours from our certified personnel, and then a total of 506 service report. Total SAR incidents 2025 so far are 46, and of those, 22 were county residents, 18 were from out of county Utah, 26 were from out of Utah, and 2 were international. Just a few highlights from the report here. We had a UTV rollover on March 20th at 10:39 on Sand Mountain. And that one was during that's off our record games actually. So we were working the record games, and there were some people that were there for the record games that decided to just take off and let the whole side by side. So it was initially came out as one occupant that had reported injuries. Our rescuers were able to get to them fairly quickly and determined there were actually 3 people that had injuries. 2 females were placed in seat collars, and 1 male was treated for minor abrasions. And then all 3 were transported by side back to our incident command, and that's off the record games there in San Paulo. And then one of those females was transported to the hospital to find medical transport. We had a group of lost hikers on Canaan Mountain on March 23rd. 1905. And that was 5 individuals that had become lost while hiking. So they hiked up Water Canyon, got to the top, and ended up getting lost. And due to the remote area that they were in and the extended time that it would take us to get to them, and it was 6 p.m. It was getting close to being dark at that point, we decided to have Star 9 come out and assist with the rescue. So our search and rescue team members began responding from our incident command at the bottom of Water Canyon there. The Star 9 was able to locate that group prior to our rescuers getting on scene. They were able to land right next to them, load them in the helicopter, reloads, and take them back to Maxwell Park. And they all declined medical evaluation right back to the vehicles. April 1st, we had a missing person at Baker Lake Campground. It was an abandoned campsite, but there was a vehicle still on the inside. It was suspected that the male who had been staying at the campsite was most likely still in the area and had been missing for a while at that point. So we had deputies and so several deputies, including our search and rescue K9 Scout, and includes a certified tracking cadaver dog, were deployed in an attempt to search the area to locate the male. During that day was extremely rainy and windy, and it was not good conditions to be searching for him. They looked and spent several hours searching for him, but were unsuccessful. And due to those weather conditions and the darkness at that point, we postponed the search until the following morning. Following morning, deputies and search and rescue team members came out and searched the area, and they were able to locate the male. He was unfortunately deceased. Preliminary causes appear to be self-inflicted, but it's still under investigation. Those are just the few highlights. We had a lot of rescues, and it's been picking up a lot now. We anticipate it's going to be like that for several months.
Is there sometimes you obviously go out, and I think you have, what other deputies are working here? Is
So,
Deputy Iverson still there? Stephen work with you?
so we've got Deputy Iverson, Deputy Denny, who's the K9, who's the travel K9 Scout, who's his handler. And we have Luke Jessup, who's the backcountry search and rescue units, and then William Perez, who's been on with us for about 6 months or so.
I guess my question is, do you make the determination when to call out the volunteers? Like, you're out on the scene?
Yeah, it's usually fairly quick. It depends on the circumstances, but we tend to err on the side of caution. We'd rather have the resources there and not need them than not have them there. So if it's an injury or something like that, we're going out immediately and then scaling back as we need what resources are actually needed.
Okay. Well, thank you for everything you do.
Thank you,
You do a
Jake.
great job. Thank you.
Thanks, Sergeant.
Our next item is consideration and ratification of purchase requests. Ray?
The first ratification I have is for a road survey at Legacy Park at 5300 West. This is to develop design drawings for additional, a survey and develop design drawings for additional road length. This is a total of $18,088, and this needs to be done promptly so we can start the project. The next ratification is for an electrical upgrade at Legacy Park. This needed to be started last week to be able to finish for our scheduled event this month, and that was a total of $14,675. Onto the purchase requisitions. The first one is for the sheriff's office. This is a blanket PO for kitchen and food items for a total of $55,000. The next one is for tourism. This is for a full-page advertisement in the Utah International Guide for $16,000. The next one is for the fair. This is for the tents. We saw all around for the food court, the VIP tents and such. This one is a total of $12,757.08. And the next two are also for the fair, but they kind of go together. They were both for the military concert and both at $5,000 each, but because the event itself came to $10,000, it was thought appropriate to bring both of these two. The first one is for professional services, which included The second one is orchestra support and backup. This includes strings quartet, rehearsal, and performance. The next one is for the assessor's office. This is for a 2025 Ford Ranger for $38,003. This is to replace the wrecked vehicle. And it is planned to trade in a 2016 Ford F-150 for approximately $16,000 for a total of $22,300. The trade-in, depending on the insurance for the crash vehicle, we may not do that depending on that situation there. The next one is for the Rose Department. This is for the chips for this year for the 3,445. This is for Old Dixie Highway 91 in Ventura, Washington Dam Road, and the Enterprise area. The next one is for Public Works and the Roads Department. This is for equipment and labor to mix the permazine into the 2 miles of roadway. This is $18,722.40. This equipment is specialized due to the digging up the roads and mixing it's not concrete, but it's mixing the product. The next one is for the Dixie Center. This is for the construction, installation, and priming for the new textured 8-inch ballroom wainscoting for $132,750. The next one is also for the Dixie Center. This is for 2 pieces of kitchen equipment. The first one is a 36-inch range with 6 burners. The second one is an industrial food processor. This is for $15,964. And the final one is for the Dixie Center as well. This is to replace the audio visual control system for $162,000.
Right, I'm seeing Todd still here. Todd, how's for the, what would you call it, the permazine? Do you have data yet on how that is holding up? I don't know, we were trying it. You're gonna put this on big planes. How's it holding so far? Are you impressed with the performance?
Yeah, I just went out there yesterday in the rain to see how it's holding up. And you can really tell the difference. We didn't do the first little part where we got the S-curve, and it's washboard about that graded it recently. That part, the washboard, smooth. Unfortunately, you can drive it at 60 miles an hour if you can do something. Then as soon as you got off the area where the flag would start to go off. So it's working real well so far.
Good.
It's just like this. It's just like concrete.
Do you roll it after you mix it?
Yeah. Yeah. Elliot was on the day-to-day stuff, but what we actually decided to do is you can mix it with a grater back and forth, but a lot of times you can. And that's what a lot of people do. They'll water it and apply the material and grate it back and forth to mix it. We decided since we have Coughlin here in town, it's much more efficient to use a roller mill basically and just apply it, because they can apply it very precisely. It only takes a gallon per 100 feet or something like that. It only took 30 gallons for that entire 2-mile stretch.
Really?
So it's very good.
Okay.
Couple of gallons. Spread it out. We got it to moisture content before we started. Proper moisture, just added the product to the water. It worked out well so far, so I'm hoping that that's a real good asset. It's quite cheap.
Now, what do you do can you grade it afterwards, or do you not grade it? Not very, okay.
Shouldn't have to grade it. What a lot of counties and others have done is just chips it up. So you can use it as a preparation of chips, so rather than hauling oil-based back to a lot of the other areas, we could just turn it into basically it's like a concrete, and then you just chips it, surface over the oil.
And what is the life, I mean, like you said, you just went out to this section yesterday. how long, if we didn't ever chip seal it and we just left it as is, how long was the expected lifespan of an application?
It's kind of like concrete where it just increases in strength over time. So it's just a matter of wearing down. So it's like 6 inches thick. It should last. That's the only drawback we've got is if something happens and we can tear it out, it's going to be fine. But it doesn't really wear away. It doesn't really
Interesting product.
Yeah, let's hope it works because as we've talked, you know, with the amount of use all of our backcountry roads are getting now, it's almost impossible to keep them.
Yeah, what this does is it really eliminates the grass.
Yeah.
People are grassing it back there. Okay, roads are really just really next to the grass. And it just, we don't have to go to the far out.
Does it prevent goat head weeds from growing? Because maybe I want to put it in my garden as well, in between
Yeah.
my boxes, because that
I
might
think
be.
it would prevent anything.
All right,
Yeah,
good.
we wouldn't want to put it in the
Nah, probably.
pretty solid.
Very good. Well, thanks, Todd. Appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman, then I would move that we approve the purchase orders as presented by Ray.
I will second that motion. We have a motion and a second to approve the purchase request and the ratification. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Ray.
Ray.
Appreciate it. Our next item is consideration of proclamation 2025-42, a proclamation declaring May of 2025 to be Washington County Law Enforcement and First Responders Month. And I'll speak to this. About 5 years ago, some of you may recall that the country was in quite a bit of upheaval, and there was a lot of negativity directed towards our first responders. And at that time, working with Sheriff Corey Pulsifer, I was saying Brooksby, and I knew it wasn't right, Corey. We put together this proclamation that we have now, every year, we bring forward, just to kind of remind and give thanks to all of our first responders that are out there making our community a better place. And I'll just read a couple of the whereases. I don't, read all of them, but whereas the residents of Washington County are proud of the law enforcement, fire, and emergency services teams who serve them, whereas each of us feel indebted to them for the security of life and property we enjoy. Recent events demonstrate again that all our agencies are performing their duties at the highest level of expertise and competence, whereas recognition for these duties has not been given proper national credit nationally, whereas other areas of the United States did not show support for local law enforcement over the past 5 years, whereas our local law enforcement and first responders have been have seen unprecedented demands on their responsibilities over the past 5 years. And we just want, and the rest of the proclamation goes on to give them thanks for everything that they do. I really, when we look at our community, we have our county attorney here as well. We're really fortunate to have such active policing that goes on. I think a lot of people wonder, why don't we have the graffiti? Why don't we have, the kind of the negative, activity that you see in other communities? I think it's because we have, I don't think, it's because we have very active policing, and we have law enforcement and sheriff and all of the agencies that just come together and really care about our community.
Yeah, amen to all of that. We've got cities that have great law enforcement. We have a fantastic sheriff. We try and have a presence everywhere. And then when somebody does wrong, we have great prosecutors, very experienced, Jerry Jager and Ryan Schaum and so many others that do a great job of putting bad guys where they belong, which is not out on the streets and under Eric's tutelage there. So, I think I move that we approve this proclamation, but also this isn't just appreciation for our law enforcement and recognizing all the great things that they do for our community, but also reminding all of the many, many people that want to move here every year. And we welcome you. But if you're going to come here and think that we're going to be anti-law enforcement in Washington County, this is not the place for you. You want to move somewhere else where maybe that's more, I hope you don't, I hope you change your mind instead, but at least in this county, we're going to be very pro-law enforcement, and we don't need your bad attitude here.
Yeah, that's part of this proclamation, is just to say, it's kind of stating the obvious, how much we appreciate them, and how our community is a different and unique place, and we appreciate that. It is interesting to me that over the last couple of years we've had, I don't know what you even call them, but criminals that have come here, traveling criminals, I guess. You take your show on the road, you know, people that bump in here from Vegas or across the country, and we've been pretty good that I think maybe we've got a reputation that there's easier prey elsewhere. I don't know. It's been interesting to see that phenomenon or that happen. But anyway,
Well, and even on that, we talked about, you know, some gang, or more organized crime in some ways, right? More gang activity. And we talked about that. And to hear some of our law enforcement, all the chiefs and Eric and the sheriff, and we talked about it, I figured that where have I been living, right? I mean, we're inundated. There's thousands of them in the way of the discussion. So I finally had to raise my hand and say, how many of these people in this specific instance? Like 30?
yeah.
I said 30 at one time. No, like in the county. I was like, well, I loved it because it meant that we were that proactive, right? They were that worried about something. We were going to nip this in the bud early on rather than wait until it becomes a big problem. I was very appreciative of all of them that work on this. So again,
One of my favorite examples of that was a couple years ago, there was an outlaw motorcycle gang that wanted to come up and give support to some of their local brothers. And I'm driving through town, and there is a police officer on every corner, everywhere. I mean, there was like there were firemen in cars parked everywhere. And it was my understanding that it got so hot, these guys were all from Vegas, they didn't even go back to their hotel room. They just went home. You know, just it was like, hey, every time they pulled out, somebody was there to greet them and talk to them. But that just shows you what great men and women we have serving in these capacities.
Mr. Chairman, with that, I move that we approve Proclamation 2542 declaring May 2025 to be Washington County Law Enforcement the First Responder Month.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much. All right, item 5 is consideration of ordinance number 2025-1289-0, an ordinance amending Washington County Ordinance Title 8, Chapter 7 regarding Washington County contribution to the cremation and deceased indigent fund. It doesn't say fund, but that's what it is. Courtney,
Hi, Commissioners.
this is not a topic we get to talk about a lot, so.
I know. Well, you guys don't get to talk about it a lot. I feel like it's been consuming my time lately, so I'm happy to be here.
Yes.
Speaking of law enforcement and the Attorney's Office, one of the things that we do in conjunction with the Commission is when someone passes away in our county and family is not readily identifiable, we do conduct an investigation to try to find family members for this person. We've had a lot lately, and as we're growing, we expect that we'll continue to have a significant amount, especially where St. George Regional Hospital is a premier facility. So just something to prepare for the future. But for this ordinance, historically, the Washington County Code currently points to a code section in the Utah Code that was repealed last year. That code section said that it's family members' responsibility to take care of their deceased family members and gave an order in which those family members were responsible. That was repealed. And so I thought we were going to have to, rewrite the county code more significantly. Fortunately, there's a different section in the Utah Code that says the order in which the right and duty vests, which is a weird term, but who has the right duty to take care of someone who's remained when they pass away. And so now this ordinance that's proposed today is just updating the county code to refer to that section of the code, Utah State Code, which remains in effect, so that it's the right duty of the family members to have a certain order, and then the county, I believe, this is to be.
Nobody else?
So that's all it is, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Well, very good. It is some people may not appreciate how often it does happen, and I think it's a little bit indicative of modern society, right, where our families are not as cohesive and together, and people will pass away and not have family or anybody to take care of them, or especially under financially stressful situations. But then again, it falls on us to figure all of that out. So thank you for working through this ordinance.
Yeah. I have no other questions. So, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve ordinance number 2025-1289-0, amending the Washington County Ordinance, Title 8, Chapter 7, regarding the Washington County contribution to the cremation of deceased indigents.
We have a motion. I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. And I was just thinking, we're missing our Commissioner Almquist right now. He probably could have came up with some a joke or a pun about that. Yeah, so we'll just
And it
move
would
on.
have been bad, and I'm glad that we can just move on.
Yes. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Item 6 is consideration of ordinance number 2025-1290-0, an ordinance amending Washington County Ordinance Title 1, Chapter 12 regarding Washington County procurement. Jenna.
So this ordinance is to bring some clarity and natural living practice, clarifying that our purchasing agent is located and receives directions
From the county what? Auditor? Is that the most of the, that's the change that we're,
current
Yeah.
code reads commission.
oh, it said commissioner and now it's auditor? Okay. Well, very good. Well, that's a pretty simple change, so. One sentence.
Pretty easy. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve ordinance 2025-1290-0, amending the Washington County Ordinance Title 1, Chapter 12 regarding the Washington County procurement.
We have a motion. I will second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item 7 is consideration of ordinance 2025-1291-0, an ordinance amending the Washington County Code Title 3 Business and License Regulation. Victoria.
Well, I'm probably going to be more wordy than the last two items that changed the code.
Yes, yes,
But
I-
hopefully we can go fast. So, Title III is our business licenses, alcohol business licenses, and special event permits. Some time ago, you asked for changes to special events, and we put those in a drawer and haven't made them yet. So when we opened up this code, Title III, for business license changes, we also are attempting to fix the items that we wanted fixed in special events. So starting with Chapter 1, which is the general business licensing, there are a lot of minor changes. The major change is changing the processing from the clerk auditor's office to the community development office. And this is for a streamlining effect. The public doesn't like to have to go to two different windows to get a business license. One is to get the zoning approval, and the other is to get the business license itself. So the clerk auditor requested that the community development department be the clearinghouse for business licensing. Sina Lane is going to be in charge of that, and she's training up with Jenna's help to do that. So we've gone from 2 approval departments to 1 to help our citizens. They like a simpler process. And then we're also to help out the community development department because they have so many things that change on January 1st. We're changing the licensing date to February 1st. So those are the 2 main changes. Everybody's license for this year will be extended an extra month, and then the new cycle will start in the coming year. And so all those changes and the line item strike-throughs relate to those major items. The hearing appeal provisions were a mess, so we cleaned those up at lines 196 through 250. And then we get to Chapter 2, which is alcohol licensing. We did, on this code, on Chapter 2, we did a total strike-through because our alcohol licensing was a mess. Our alcohol licensing is more clear under this draft because it follows exactly state law. Our state code on alcohol licensing is 380. So we didn't want to regurgitate things in that code that they already have to do. Every person who gets an alcohol business license has to get a state license first. So what we did is take out all the verbiage related to regurgitating the state law. The other major change is the use chart. We propose having 11 licenses, not 8. 8 of the licenses on the use chart were already allowed under state law or in our own code. And there are only 3 new license types that we would like to discuss with you today. But I want to tell you the policy reasons behind the changes, which will better explain the changes. First, we wanted to match our code to state law. We didn't want to try to reinvent the wheel. So all our new categories match exactly the state code. Our county business license holders are already asking for new categories of licenses to support and grow their businesses, and we like to be pro-business and business friendly. We also wanted to add support for our tourist economy and meet expectations for a world-class tourist experience, and we know we're getting a lot of tourist pressure in this space. We also wanted to protect public safety with clear limits and guardrails in the proposed Chapter 2, making sure that we don't increase any law violations. And the fifth reason is we have a new goal in the county, and we're going to try to add more code provisions to foster a thriving agritourism economy, giving farmers, ranchers, and producers a way to make their family farms more profitable by expanding uses on their agricultural properties like vineyards and others. So now at lines 289, you can see the proposed licenses. I'd like to just discuss the 3 new categories. At the bottom of page 71 and the top of page 72, there's 3 new license categories. The first 2 are weird. Expanding restaurant licensing. Before we had an old Class B license that allowed beer only. And the new licenses, one will allow beer and wine, and the category at the bottom of page 71 will allow beer, wine, and liquor. We have a lot of requests for this from our current restaurateurs. They want to be able to serve a mixed drink as well as beer or wine to their customers. So the good thing about those categories is they have very high state law requirements for food sales. You cannot serve someone alcohol unless they're also ordering food. That's a state law requirement, and the high food sales protect us from people who typically would get a DUI. The DUIs that we have a lot in our county relate to, not to pick on men, but younger men getting with their boys and making a lot of noise. Not people going to restaurants and having it. So that's the 2 new restaurant categories. The one at the top of page 72 is something that we are proposing to start slow at and have only 4 potential licenses for a brew pub or wine bar. These are not full-service restaurants, but they have to have substantial food. They're not full-service bars that sell liquor. They have a substantial food requirement, and the limits and parameters that we're putting on this to start slow are, number 1, limit the number to 4 in the county, limit the location, and provide county commission oversight by having the county commission give the local consent at a public meeting. So those are the 3 parameters, but let's discuss the limits on location. I provided in the packet 2 potential maps. We're calling them the Zion National Park Influence Area maps because we wanted to try these new licenses in places where there are lots of tourists. So the first map is basically an expanded map. It's at page 119 in your packet, an expanded map of the Scenic Byway Overlay Zone. And that is what we're defining as the Zion National Park Influence Area along SR 9. Another proposed map is the New Harmony Valley Overlay Zone, reduced map on page 120 in your packet, and that relates to the co-op entrances to Zion National Park along I-15. So those are the 2 maps to consider for those 4 brew pub or wine bar licenses. So you guys can tell me when you make the motion, which maps you want, whether you just want one of them or both. All the other changes to the code are mostly came from our old code, except for we've improved them by not regurgitating state law. The next changes relate to special events, unless you have questions about Chapter 2 before I go on to special events. Special events, Chapter 3, start at page 90 of your packet, line 946. You asked for changes a long time ago, and here are the main changes to special events. At lines 982 through 1000 and lines 1176 through 1188, we have put minor special events along SR 18 onto our newly paved trail in the interest of public safety. The next major change is we've added a multi-year permit at lines 1059 through 1068. This is something you guys specifically requested. Again, reducing the amount of government involvement and regulation and permitting special events. So if you have an event that happens every year and there are no material changes and you present a new certificate of insurance and nothing substantial has changed, then you can get a multi-year permit. And we've added at lines 1429 just a shutdown provision to protect law enforcement. If an event goes on that doesn't have a permit or it gets crazy, then a deputy could shut down the event. And that's found in other jurisdictions' code. We recommend doing that because if you had, say, a rave or something that you could tell they were selling alcohol to minors or something, or they didn't have a permit at all, you could shut them down and disperse the crowd. Those are the changes to Title III. If you have any questions, we appreciate your consideration for Title III ordinance changes related to business licensing, alcohol licensing, and special events.
Any questions? You know, Victoria, you do such a good job at coming to each one of us individually and kind of going over this several times so that we can have our feedback prior, so it's so we're quite aware of the changes. So thank you for all that homework. Well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and make the motion that we adopt item 7, which is consideration of ordinance 2025-1291-0, an ordinance amending the Washington County Code Title III Business and License Regulations.
So to do that, in your motion, did you pick which map? You were asking for maps.
Clarifying whether you're going to adopt both maps at page 119 and 120 or just the 119 map.
So this is comfortable with both maps.
Okay. But I didn't know
So-
if you needed that in the motion. If you needed.
We do. We need you both to agree on which maps.
So I'm, this one, I will admit, has been hard for me.
Yeah.
I don't like opening more alcohol to more places in the county. After much discussion with quite a few people on this one, Victoria the most, but many others, you do try, for the public's knowledge, you try and, if somebody's coming, they're coming to Zion, they're staying at one of our many destinations along SR9, right? Whether it's in Virgin or Springdale or wherever they might be, you don't want them going somewhere else. They want to come, they want to have a glass of wine with dinner or whatever. They don't want to go somewhere else to drink, or we don't want them to go somewhere else to drink and then head back to the hotel, right? So there's a public safety benefit of having them on site where they can stay. We've changed, some of the definitions on this as far as what qualifies as a hotel. And so which gets with some of the state law issues. So that's compelling to me. I like that if you're going to drink, and I don't, but I understand that many other people do, and we want to keep you safe. Enjoy your experience while you're here in our county, and please don't drive going somewhere else. Other parts of me, though, I think there's a question for well, why not just do this everywhere? Why are we having these maps at all? Why not just say the map is Washington County, everywhere unincorporated? And for me, and that's gonna come back to the two maps here, is that there's a issue with public safety and with enforcement, right? We don't have a deputy on every single corner. We do the best we can, we're well-staffed, but do we wanna have bars and heavy drinking going on in Vale, where we don't have any cities nearby, right? There's at least on SR9, you've got law enforcement in Springdale, which covers Rockville and used to cover down to Virgin, but doesn't anymore. But you have law enforcement in Hurricane and in Hurricane, and so you're kind of sandwiched in. There's nobody in Central other than our sheriff's deputies, right?
Can I clarify that these maps only relate to that one new license for a brew pub or wine bar? So
Right.
that is where they don't have to have as much food sales.
Yeah.
So these maps relate to those 4 special licenses that we're kind of rolling out slowly and just trying to thread the needle between tourism needs and public safety needs and all the other policy issues we discussed.
And I'm just clarifying it because the restaurant full service has the food sales. The other new one is the brew pub or wine bar, which we're talking about with the map.
Right.
And the third one being
The other 2 that are brand new are the restaurant
limited service, right?
And, yeah, that's beer and wine, high food sales.
Yeah, both of those we're having the protection of the
High food
restaurant,
sales.
not a bar, right?
You can't serve somebody alcohol or beer or wine without also them buying food.
Yeah. But the brew pub or wine bar does not have the same food. It has to have substantial food,
Right,
but doesn't have the high food sales threshold of 70%.
right.
And for that one especially, that's why I'm concerned about putting brew pubs and wine bars in Veo and Central and Gunlock, where law enforcement is just harder to
Well,
cover.
Yeah, and these maps make it clear you couldn't.
Right, no, and that's my justification of why, for anybody who wonders why it's not everywhere in the county, I would not be in support of that because I think it's gonna be very hard to patrol and to make sure that those that are just trying to go home, when you've only got 2 roads, right? You've got SR 18 and you've got the Gunlock Road and there's nowhere else to go, right? I can't choose a different route home, that we're not burdening those communities with because those aren't tourists. We don't have any hotels there. Nobody's going there for tourism. You might have a few small Airbnbs, occasionally, but it's not a heavy tourism area. For that, I like the Zion, what do we call it? The Zion influence area map.
Yeah.
I don't, for the same reason, I'm not a big fan of the expanding this to the New Harmony area. I understand that you can get to Kolob Canyons. You can get to Zion from that area, but again, this is not a high tourism area, and the law enforcement aspect causes me some concern. You've got very remote areas, and then I-15.
Okay.
We don't have deputies, just stationed there all the time. There's no, satellite headquarters for law enforcement up there, so.
So for clarification, in the motion, we would be adopting the Zion corridor map and not necessarily, we will not adopt the New Harmony map. And just,
That's fine.
since
It's up to
Sue's
you.
still here, I just don't want her to think we're turning all of New Harmony into a bar. It was a very restricted space along the freeway there, where there's actually not any commercial activity right now, but there could be in the future. But I'm fine with that.
Perhaps in the future, maybe we have to go back and
Yeah.
amend this if it is more appropriate. At this time, I don't think it's necessary in the New Harmony area.
I think most of our changes to this had to do with the previous changes with some dining situations that we had out in the county, some of the vineyards that are coming in. And so it's just kind of, so in all of those cases, they also serve food with them. And so I think they'll be fine for actually what's going on. I was kind of looking forward to that bar right next to Vale Pies, though.
Oh, jeez.
It was never suggested for those 4 licenses that we go up SR 18.
Yeah.
But if you just clarify in your motion that you're adopting the Zion National Park Influence Area map at page 119 only, which is the scenic byway overlay zone at SR 9 in the expanded red area.
Yes, that is the motion.
And I second that motion with the amendment.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you. Our next item is consideration of ordinance 2025-1292-0, an ordinance adopting and amending miscellaneous Title 10 zoning regulations, including plan development, residential street frontage, and use chart provisions. Victoria.
Okay, you know, this is my absolute favorite topic, Title 10. We're always tweaking it, trying to make it better. And we've had some misses where things got left off the chart or wording was incorrect. And so we're trying to come back and correct those at a time when we also need to correct something else that's major, and I'll bring that up next. So the first thing we did on the first page, starting at line 5, was we pulled all the penalty provisions that were everywhere and put them in chapter 1, so we don't have to keep repeating them. They're similar to the same provisions we had before. We did add the amount of a fine because we didn't have that before at $250 a day. As you know, we have to go through a lot of notice provisions before we fine anyone, or we could do a criminal charge instead, class B or C. Same or similar provisions that we have before, we just changed the order and where they're at. And then the next change is because of the Title III changes we just presented, we have to fix all the use charts to match that. We're now going to do alcohol establishments as limited in the new Title III, Chapter 2. So this is an example on the first page of the use chart problem that we're going to fix throughout the code. And then if you turn the page to page 109 in your packet, this is a substantive change that came up recently at a planning commission meeting. We had a concept plan presented for Solara. You know, it's a big residential project that the developers are trying to queue up in the near future. They had a concept plan proposal where they wanted to start their residential project on 10 acres as close to the freeway as their property is. And they proposed 10 acres and they wanted 75 units. This is because they can only get up to 75 units because right now they only have one roadway access. They're working on their other roadway accesses and making a lot of progress. But our current PDR code, Plan Development Residential, requires a 40-acre minimum zone size for a PDR. And so we realized at that meeting that they weren't going to meet the code. Their request wasn't going to meet the code. They're still at the concept plan phase. But because we had Title 10 revisions on that same planning commission meeting, the planning commissioners were very willing to go through that code provision and try to come up with some policy and requirements that made sense, knowing that we have a big project coming in that might need a different code provision. So the Planning Commission unanimously recommended reducing the zone size, the minimum zone size from 40 acres down to 10. We also have a problem with the base density, which is 5 dwelling units an acre, because their request is 7.5 dwelling units an acre. And so after much discussion, we were all very proud of the planning commissioners. They were very comfortable allowing a huge density bonus. They didn't want to just give them that higher density without getting some sort of something in return. So the Planning Commission unanimously recommends giving them a density bonus if a small percentage, 6.7% back, is given in moderate income housing units with the deed restriction. So that's the way it's drafted. It's drafted according to what the Planning Commission recommends. I'll give you an example. In the Solara project, they want 75 dwelling units, which would be 7.5 dwelling units an acre, because they only have a 10-acre project. And the planning commission recommendation would mean we'd get 5 medium-income housing units in return. And we would give up on a lot of minimum sizes for those dwellings and other standards related to the dwellings that are found in the paragraph right below the chart, in exchange for a deed restriction for 100 years on those units. So sure, we'll give you a big density bonus if you give us some moderate income housing. That's what they recommend. That's what 10-9-8 changes it to. And you guys get to discuss that, decide. All the other changes relate to those alcohol, business licensing, changes in all the charts in the code, and we're gonna have to fix all the charts in the code. There are other examples of that on page 110 for commercial, and also on page 114 for manufacturing and industrial. The other changes are line item changes to the use charts, which were just messed up, and we fixed them. Little changes like we had a manufacturing line in the commercial code, which didn't make any sense, so we deleted that. Our use charts. Some of our use charts were missing a line about street frontage requirements. I don't know why, it's a mistake, and so we put back those street frontage requirements, and you can find those on page 113, and again on page 117. The other thing we did was construction hours of operation on page 118. We had some of this in the mining and gravel zone, but didn't have any construction hours of operation in our general Title II. So a lot of flexibility there. The Public Works Department can waive any time of day requirements if they find a good reason to, and the times are very lenient. 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. in the spring, summer, and fall, and then in the dead of winter, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. If you have any questions about the Title X changes, I am here for you.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. So I'm going to work backwards because you mentioned the hours of operation first.
Yeah.
Why 6 p.m.? Like, why end there? Why could they not work until 7 p.m., 8 p.m. if it's...
Because
I understand
it's
that
dark.
the daylight...
Because it's dark in the winter.
Sure.
It's based on darkness, and also they did mention when they recommended this heavy school children use, they didn't want a lot of trucks and other activity in the school roads for heavy use.
But is this for all construction? Anywhere, single lot, I'm building my house, anything? Or is this only for PDs?
This is in the supplementary provision, so it would be over all construction.
Yeah, is the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., is this the only place it's referenced, is on 10, 13, 24, lines 6 and 7?
Well, the
Or
only
is
other
that-
time we have hours of operation is in mining and gravel zone. So yes, this is,
I mean, I get the daylight hours. I guess that would be up to the contractor if they want to light the
Well-
table saw as they're building something. I guess I'm wondering why.
well, I think it depends on whether they light up the whole site versus lighting up the table saw, right? I'm the drafter, you're the
No,
decider.
I understand.
You guys get
I'm
to
looking to
decide.
you for is there a compelling reason?
Yes, darkness.
Yeah, that's not compelling.
You don't like
Any
it.
reason is not necessarily a compelling reason. For
Yeah.
me, Mr. Chairman, I would.
We have a lot more complaints about it, commissioners know, and so we don't have anything in the code if we had to stop somebody, we have nothing.
Okay.
But,
Is there a way for us, because not all construction sites are equal, right? So, you know, if you're working a certain distance away from a residence, you know, there's not really that compelling reason to not work. But if you're working right next door to somebody, in fact, I know somebody in this room that, you know, every morning, you know, her neighbor was running the concrete truck right up by her house, and so on and so forth. And we've all seen that situation. And those types of proximities, yeah, we need to have stricter hours of work. Is there a way that we could attach this to, or basically
Proximity.
give an exemption that if you're a certain distance away, your hours can be later? I don't know.
Well, and I agree with that, but I'd also agree, that's why I said if it applies to everything, but I'm just gonna say, even if you had a vacant lot in the middle of Dameron Valley, and you're building on that lot, right, so you've got neighbors around you. I mean, 6 p.m., I can do lots of things on my own property at 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. I can blast my music, and I can shine my light in my backyard, and I can,
well, so Commissioner Snow, you could until you start bothering a bunch of neighbors, and when we get 2 or 3 complaints, then we would go to our nuisance code where it says you can't blast your music
sure.
until 10 p.m. if it is bothering too many people too often, or you can't run your concrete truck too loudly or too often. We could do it under nuisance. It's easier if we have a code inside Title 10. And you also are aware that our problems exist in the county only on a complaint basis. And if you have a lot of complaints and no code, it's hard to do any enforcement.
But again, I'm not saying no code. I'm saying
Yeah.
different code this year.
Well-
I
well-
would move this from 101324B. I'd go 6 a.m. to at least 8 p.m. I understand the chop saw, right, is loud. Everybody can hear it. That sound seems to carry further than many other sounds. But I'm also thinking of the guy who's trying to build his house or improve it in the evening. He has a full-time job, or he's working at, like, 6 p.m. seems like too early of a cutoff for me. I don't think most people have an expectation of silence at 6 p.m.
Well, and the kids don't go to bed till maybe till 8 or 9. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to make that
I
change
would
on the
move that
fly.
one to 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other one I would change is the 100 years. I'm going to page
Yes.
109.
Yes.
Is the 100 years a
So,
reference somewhere else?
yes, so I looked at other codes. They're all over the place. The Planning Commission, I recommended 100 years. I've seen them at 50 years. I've seen them at 30 years. I haven't seen them below the 50 to 30 years. But 100 years, I kind of had that saying, you know, maybe that's a bit too long.
Yeah, I think that's way too long. I think just the conditions, especially in the county growing as fast as ours, conditions change, economic conditions change far too quickly. And to say, no, you're deed restricted for 100 years, well, what if and I understand the median income can move, because that fluctuates with,
It does. It will
So I get that
fluctuate.
part.
It will fluctuate with the changes in
Sure.
over time.
but if macroeconomic conditions, macro to the county, not macro to the nation, but if macroeconomic conditions change enough that I can't get anybody to buy a house in Leeds, Tokerville area, right, at the median level, because they can't afford the travel or anything. I mean, the other things that go into influence their purchasing decision, and the guy owning the house is going, well, I'd love to sell it. I bought it as median income. I'm now moving. I'm trying to sell it. But it's deed restricted, and
Yeah.
nobody wants to buy it. And it was put on 35 years ago, and I'm still screwed by this thing. So, for me, I would say 20 years. I think we're getting the value out of this, and if that, I'd go 20, maybe to 30 at the most. I wouldn't. I think the point is that we don't want you to flip it tomorrow, right? We're deed restricting it so that you're getting it's a trade between the developer and the county on our housing needs.
I've never seen one as low as 20. I'm happy
We're
to draft
trailblazers.
whatever you want.
We're trailblazers. Well, I'm one of 3 votes, one of 2 today, so it would depend on what Commissioner Iverson says here, I'm trying to make it easier for somebody. I want to achieve the benefit and not tie hands forever.
Well, I
What
think
about 25?
We'll meet in the middle at 25.
25, I will write whatever you guys want.
And you know which reference I'm
I
talking
do know
about.
exactly. It's on page 109, and
Yes.
I already have it circled.
Yep, line 3 of that paragraph.
Yeah. Yeah, we can fix that, and in the deed restriction that we, at the attorney's office, are gonna have to draft for that.
It will be interesting, these density bonuses and how they work, you know. For me, 7.5 is a lot of houses on 1 acre, so a lot of units, but
Well, I do think we have an extreme need for moderate income housing in our county for our firefighters, our teachers, a lot of people cannot afford housing here, and if we even help it just a little bit, which is what this density bonus provides. it would be
well,
a positive.
in the county, you know, you almost have to build your infrastructure. There, we don't have the infrastructure like you have in the cities. And so we've never really had a clustering, we've never really tried clustering. It's basically, you know, you move to the county, you move to the country, you know, so to speak. And so, but yeah, at the same time, we want to preserve open spaces. I do think that clustering and density bonuses can also serve as, it's not necessarily set up in this section to do this, but could serve as a way to preserve open spaces. You could give units and then preserve the rest, but
I
anyway.
think the danger of changing this page, 109, is that, you know, the economy slows down. All they do is build that one little dense section, and
Yeah.
and we changed our code for it. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that we get the whole project lifted off the ground, and we can tweak things later.
Yep,
You
we
know, we
really
do
can.
that all the time.
All right. Well, Commissioner, I'm waiting.
I will move, Mr. Chairman, that we adopt with those amendments, ordinance 2025-1292-0 as presented.
I have a motion. I will second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. Thank you, Victoria. Appreciate all your hard
All the
work.
work, Victoria.
Thank you. Item 9 is consideration of resolution R-2025-3502, a resolution appropriating funds for Sunrise Engineering proposal to provide bidding and construction administrative services for Zion National Park Sewer Improvement Phase 1. Devin.
Yes, Commissioners, you've seen this one before. We're through the design phase on this project, and now we're ready to send this out for bid. This proposal is for Sunrise Engineering to handle the procurement process and also to handle the inspections and so forth during the construction. It's a complex project. It's in the park, so it's going to require some expertise to make sure that it's done right and done in conformity with the contract documents. This is a proposal for $198,000, and this would be paid for with funding that's provided by the state of Utah with its $18 million appropriation for this project and also the Peru's Trail extension.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman, we've talked about this many times. This is just one more step in this. We probably don't need to belabor the point. It's a great thing for the county, great thing for the Park Service, and we're very grateful for the state legislature for their assistance with this. And with that, I move that we approve Resolution R 2025-3502 as Devin explained.
I will second that motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. The motion passes. Item 10 is consideration of resolution R-2025-3503, a resolution authorizing the Washington County Clerk Auditor to implement a new fee schedule services. Jenna.
We are proposing to revise our fee schedule to remove business licensing on the Lubbock Arts, as well as some outdated line items that we no longer process. We're also removing pass-through funds. We're changing GRAMA to meet GRAMA code, our minimum established fee. We're adding a license amendment to marriage licenses and premier ceremony.
Very good. Hopefully we're not discouraging marriage by raising prices. Just kidding.
The amendment would be for typos and things that.
I don't want people living in sin. I'd like them to come in and make themselves legal. Just kidding. Just, there might have been a little too much of my opinion there, but it's good to see people can still get marriage licenses. Any other comments?
Nope.
All right, well, I'm waiting for a motion.
I was just reviewing those, yeah. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Resolution R 2025-3503 as Jenna explained.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Thank you, Jenna. Appreciate it. And you're going to stay here for item 11, which is consideration of resolution R-2025-3504, a resolution approving the execution of an interlocal cooperation agreement for election services between Washington County and various government entities. And I assume we're just kind of wrapping up.
Yes, this one is for Dixie Deer, one of the special service districts. We have one more that may or may not contract with us. Otherwise, this is the last one you'll see be an automatic agreement.
Who's the last one?
Southwest, they're debating between one and themselves.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Resolution R 2025-3504.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Item 12 is consideration of resolution R-2025-3505, a resolution ratifying an agreement between NRCS and Washington County for watershed flood prevention operations, Virgin River in RCPP project. Todd.
This is a ratification that we thought we'd done last year. We have a signed agreement, but we could not find a resolution to ratify it. So we want to make sure that gets taken care of so we can build on this. NRCS has given us over $15 million to primarily the Hurricane irrigation project.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman, we've talked about this project over and over again, so we've got the background on it, but great thing. And so with that, I move that we approve Resolution R 2025-3505, ratifying the agreement between the NRCS and Washington County for the watershed flood prevention operations Virgin River RCPP project.
I will second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. 13 is consideration of resolution R-2025-3506, a resolution approving an amended agreement between Washington County and Ecosane Environmental Group for services performed on the Santa Clara Plan EA project. Todd?
This is a project we've been doing for quite some time, and because it's taken quite some time, there's been a few extra costs involved. Between the change in administration and changing some of the rules on the environmental document, there's been some additional costs involved. We negotiated with the OC to eat some of those costs because we felt some of those were their problem with extending the time. And so they agreed to that, and we thought it was a fair compromise. And so we recommend we approve this $48,000 change order to get this project completed.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move we approve Resolution R 2025-3506.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Thank you. 14 is consideration of R-2025-3507, a resolution approving a cooperative agreement with Utah Department of Public Safety for the 24/7 sobriety program. Devin? I'm glad we're talking about sobriety after all the discussion of alcohol we've already had.
We're getting a lot done today, Commissioners. This is an agreement that would have us participate in this 24/7 sobriety program with the state. So the state contracts with most of the counties to run local sobriety programs. And basically what this program does is if you're a DUI offender, you can participate in this program and keep your license, continue to have a job, stay out of jail, but you're also going to submit to regular daily testing. So to make sure that you're staying sober. So it can be very effective. Under this agreement, the state would commit equipment and so forth, so testing and monitoring equipment, and then we're committing to run the program here locally, collect the fees, and also take people into custody if they violate the terms of the program. So this is a 3-year agreement, and it's ready for your approval.
Very good. Any discussion?
Nope.
With that, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt resolution R-2025-3507. 3507.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye, the motion passes. Item 15 is consideration of resolution R-2025-3508, a resolution approving an independent contractor agreement to replace the skylights at the Dixie Center. And then it says, subject to attorney review. Jarrett Stevenson.
Yeah, these are the pretty simple one. We already approved the purchase request for the skylights. The contractor came back after that. Just approved this like with months and stuff. That's what these all do.
You know, I'm kind of curious what it's going to be like to have skylights that actually let the sunlight in. Whoa.
Skylights are supposed to be pretty dirt brown, right? Is that what they're, and filter
That's what I
90%
know
of the
it
light,
is.
is that what, and be extremely brittle? That's what you want in a light, right?
Hopefully what we're paying for is a little better.
Good, okay.
Good.
Mr. Chairman, with that, I move that we approve resolution R-2025-3508, approving the independent contractor agreement to replace the skylights of the Dixie Center, subject to attorney review.
I will second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Item 16 is consideration of resolution R-2025-3509, a resolution soliciting offers for the purchase or license of the redrockgolftrail.com domain name. Devin?
Yes, Commissioners, this is a domain name that our tourism office used several years ago but no longer uses as part of its marketing program. And so because it's surplus, it can be sold. It still has value. So what this resolution does is open this up for public sale. So any interested party could submit offers. Those are due by June 6th. And under our code, we'll go with the best offer.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve resolution R-2025-3509, resolution soliciting offers for the purchase or license of the redrockgolftrail.com domain name.
We have a motion. I will second that. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Item 17 is consideration of resolution R-2025-3510, a resolution appointing members to the Washington County Advisory Board regarding a proposal for critical infrastructure material protection area. Devin?
Yes, Commissioners, this is a resolution. We don't see this, I haven't seen this actually in a few years I've been at the county, but the state law allows for a special protection area for critical infrastructure. We're talking about sand, gravel, and rock aggregate extraction. What happens is the property owner can apply within their jurisdiction for this protection area. And what the state law says is that the county commission will then appoint kind of an advisory body that will advise the city as to this request. And I'm going to ask that you table this item today because we have heard confirmation from each of these representatives. So state law requires that we have representation from industry and one from UDOT and so forth. We heard from most of these representatives, but not from all. And so I was going to ask that you would table this item until another meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we table resolution R-2025-3510.
We have a motion to table. I will second that. All those in favor say aye. Aye. The motion passes. I do have one point of information, Devin. This body is set up for this particular, like we received a request from one of our cities.
Correct.
This isn't like an ongoing, critical minerals authority that takes any other case that it has. This is only for this. So it's kind of does its job and then
Yep.
it's done.
That's exactly right. They would advise the city as to this specific application that's before them. Once that's done, then it's disbanded.
Interesting. Okay, very good. Our final item is consideration of resolution R-2025-3511, a resolution appropriating expenditures of funds collected as Washington County's Recreation, Arts, and Parks sales tax for unincorporated Washington County. Nicole Felshaw?
Thank you. Okay, I don't talk as fast as you guys, but here we go. So the Recreation, Arts, and Parks, which
Don't
is...
feel any pressure. You can just talk.
I'm going. The RAP tax renewal was on the ballot in November of 2024 and passed. This continued the implementation of 0.1% of sales and use tax for the county to put towards the recreation arts and parks. So 85% of that is allocated to counties and cities based on population and point of sale, and the 15% is for cultural. And what is before you today is regarding the 85% allocated to the unincorporated areas of the county. Washington County received 3 applications this year from Silver Reef Foundation, Vail Community Rodeo Association, and Grafton Heritage Partnership Project. Before you today is the recommendation for you to consider Silver Reef to receive $16,000, Vail Community Rodeo Association to receive $65,618, and Grafton Heritage Partnership Project to receive $8,283 for the 2025 year.
Very good.
Nicole, do you know what the intended use of each one of these is?
The use of, yes, I'm happy to work through that with you. So Silver Reef, there's actually quite a bit. They have an accounting software upgrade of $2,000, display stands and cases of $1,000, 2 bookcases at $1,000, upgrade interior lighting for exhibits for $600, gravel for historical trail maintenance at $1,200, replace trees and shrubs destroyed by the deer at $400, printing expenses for $500, electrical repairs to code at $1,200, and operational expenses at $8,100. So that totals $16,000 for Silver Reef. For the Vail Rodeo Association, there's an overhead walkway that is requested at $12,000. That actually will help tremendously on safety concerns. There is going to be a retention wall that they'd like to put in, and the equipment rental at $15,000. Apparently they're having some retaining issues that will help out with that. And then the last one is for $38,618 for a 15-row aluminum bleacher. They actually did ask for 2. My recommendation is that we give 1 this year, and they can continue to ask for it the following year to get the amount of seating that they're needing to replace or to add. Then we have the Grafton Schoolhouse, and they wanted $8,283, and this was for painting the newly installed white rain gutters to match the adobe brick, ensuring a cohesive and historically appropriate appearance.
Very good.
Chairman, I move that we approve Resolution R 2025-3511 with a very thorough explanation by Nicole.
Very good. I will second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. This concludes our agenda. I'd just like to remind everybody that meetings are rebroadcast daily on TDS cable channels 22 and 108 at 10 a.m., 2 p.m., and 5:30 p.m. And they're also available on our YouTube channel.
Before we conclude completely, Mr. Chairman, I would just like to call out that this is Travel and Tourism Week this week, and I want to acknowledge that for all of the people in Washington County who complain sometimes that there's too many tourists and why are there so many people here. A third of our economy is based on tourism. We wish it was more diversified, but for right now it is a heavily dependent economy on tourism, and the sales tax that is paid by tourists alone when they're here means that everybody's property tax is significantly similar to $1,200 to $1,500 less per year than it would be to provide the same services if we didn't have those tourists here. So they do a lot. We've had the LPGA last week. We've got the Epson tour next week. We've got the seniors tour for the LPGA the week after that. We've got Ironman this weekend. We've got a ton of events. We're meeting with people that bring 400 soccer teams from around the world. I met with them last week. I mean, we are a destination that people want to come and enjoy. We want them to come, enjoy, leave their dollars and their water, and then go back home.
Yep.
And so we're very happy for the tourism effects that we do have, and we try and manage that to the best of the ability and enjoy them while we're here. But we're happy, and we want to acknowledge that this week.
Very good. And with that, we will stand adjourned.